So in the third year, I did a project in which I was supposed to write about all the software CEOs.
Okay.
So that project actually made me understand how entrepreneurs think. So I really thank PICT to giving me that opportunity. So for Sarvatra, all our products can go international. But because the opportunity of India was so big that we kept on growing in India, but our outlook while designing a product is always we have to create a world-class product. Important part is always your team. So in technology, team is everything. And I would suggest all you guys in PICT to look at your friends. Can they tomorrow be your partners in some business? In the second year of PICT is when I heard the Beatles for the first time. And that's when I picked up the guitar, and there was no social event in PICT. So we started that. Most of the good programmers are artists also. So in some form, either they are on stage or they are a musician or they are a painter. And that's why you see PICT winning so many awards in art and culture. But you'll be happy to know that PICT was the first college to offer AI specialization. And as I said, when I started, only 50 banks were on debit cards. 10 years of Sarvatra's work, now 750 banks are on debit card with Sarvatra alone.
Good evening, sir. It's an honor to be able to sit here with you in the Sarvatra office as a part of the discussion with PICT College. So, sir, my first question to you is, everyone knows you as Mr. Mandar Agashe, who is the founder and managing director of Sarvatra Technologies. But I'd like to know from the man himself, who is Mandar Agashe at his very core?
So at my very core, I'm a creative person. So I look at myself as somebody who is creating new products, or whether as an artist I'm creating new music, or in Sarvatra I'm creating new products for the Indian banking sector. So I look at myself first as a creative person and then as anything else.
That's a very interesting answer, sir. So, everyone knows that it's an extremely intensive and multifaceted process to build a company to the scale of Sarvatra Technologies. What led you to initiate this company back in 2000? What inspired you to build Sarvatra?
So when I decided to start Sarvatra, at that time, most of the people in IT industry were working for global companies.
Yes.
But no one was really focused on India as a to create a product for India. So I always wanted to be a product person and wanted to do something for India. And then I realized there was a gap in the Indian banking IT space, where out of the 2,000 banks who had a license, out of that only 53 banks had a debit card.
Okay.
So I said, why the other banks don't have a debit card? So I realized they lack technology, they lack good IT people, they lack infrastructure, and they lack the necessary, what you can say, wherewithal to create the ecosystem,
Right.
which only a large bank could afford. And then I said, oh, this is a great market, because now you can see 53 banks out of 2,000 banks. So it's a whole playing field for me to create a product and fit into the market.
That's a very insightful answer. I think for any entrepreneur who decides to build his company, I think identifying need is the first step that one should be taking. So Sarvatra has a multitude of products and services in the fintech space, particularly the integrated payments platform, merchant payment services, as well as banking automation solutions. So what are some of the star products that Sarvatra offers? Can you give us some insight into that aspect?
Yeah. So when Sarvatra started, we started with a very basic product called a debit card, because debit card and ATM once takes for granted in the global space or even in the urban space, but it was completely unknown in the rural space.
Yes.
So though it looks like a simple product, it's a very, very complex product, because once you go with your debit card of one bank to an ATM in another city, in another bank, the entire checking of the transaction, entire checking of with the validity of the debit card, and do you have money in the account, everything has to happen in few seconds.
Yes.
And the transaction has to go through. So because of that, our first star product, which got us a all India fame was our basic debit card product, and after that came UPI. So when we were the first one to start UPI, because we believed mobile-based banking, mobile-based payments is going to be big, but no one at that time initially thought it could be that big. So we were the first one to jump on the UPI framework and create a product around UPI. And today our UPI is our biggest product.
Okay. So back in 2023, the G20 was hosted in India, and Sarvatra enabled G20 travelers to use the UPI in India. So how did this collaboration take place, and is this a conscious step towards Atmanirbhar Bharat?
Yes, absolutely. So when the people from G20 came to India, it was the government and everyone realized that they are able to show them how UPI works, but from a friend's mobile.
Right.
The people themselves could not use it and experience it firsthand. And it is very critical for a person to use a product himself for them to think of taking the technology back to their own country. So for the G20 travelers, we created a product which was based on they at the airport transferring their dollars into a rupee prepaid wallet, and that prepaid wallet on the mobile was connected to UPI, and they could spend it like a regular UPI customer, and it goes back when they left the country to go back to their own account. So this was a very unique use case that we created, because of which all G20, all the prime ministers and the presidents could come and actually use it. And even the president of United States, Mr. Biden, used it at that time. So it was, I would say, a great achievement for the country to showcase a product which is completely made in India, and yet it's a payments product which is not a simple field.
That's true. That's true. Earlier, you spoke about innovating for the rural aspect of India. I believe that many companies, particularly tech companies, they innovate for the urban audience or for the urban user. So what is the difference between building a payments product for urban India and rural India, especially now since millions of users in rural India as well are adapting to UPI?
So the difference between an urban and rural customer is primarily that in urban India you get a concentrated population, because of which you can easily spread a product, or have people come to the branch and you can teach them. When it comes to rural India, they're all spread out physically. So any product which is launched has to be communicated to them in a very different way, because the branches are all spread out. In a branch, there are maximum 2,000 customer compared to a 50,000 customer in urban India. The media is very different. They might not be accessing social media as much as urban. So giving any product, and not only the product, the security around the product. So when we gave a debit card, to explaining to them to keep the PIN secure was a very important aspect.
Right.
Otherwise, just giving a debit card is simple. Or even training the merchants of how to accept a debit card. Because unless a debit card is accepted, who will use it? Similarly for UPI, how is a QR code? See, today, even a rickshawala will tell you, no, this is my QR code.
Yeah.
But QR code itself is such a technical word. But now it has come into a common man's, when he speaks. So as I said, UPI has created such a unique opportunity that you can buy an apple on the street, or you can buy an Apple iPhone.
Yes.
That same, using the same technology, you can easily go across such different class of retailers and still do the micro payment to a mass payment. So that is very important. And teaching the same thing to rural India was a big challenge. But I would say rural India adopted it very, very quickly, because there was no technology, there was no payment product. So they were stuck to their branch. So a rural customer, maximum he could do is branch banking. He could not even go across the branches of his bank. So an ATM was something he had never seen. So when he was a rural guy used to come to urban, he had to carry cash with him.
Yeah.
So then now we made his account portable, his bank account portable. So I said his telephone became portable with mobile, but his bank account is not portable. So we focused on that, and we are a unique company which went from rural to urban.
Okay.
And we were doing fintech when fintech word was not coined, or payment tech was not coined. And we have been doing in that space only with the focus of digitizing the country. And as I said, when I started, only 50 banks were on debit cards. 10 years of Sarvatra's work, now 750 banks are on debit card with Sarvatra alone.
That's very interesting to hear. I believe that rural India is a very important part of India that often gets overlooked by tech companies specifically, and it's very commendable to know that Sarvatra is innovating for the rural ecosystem. I'd like to know, what are your roles and responsibilities as the managing director of this company? What does a day in the life of Mr. Mandar Agashe look like?
So, as I said, I'm a creator. So, the chief innovator is another hat that I wear. So, my job is to see how I can apply the technologies available, the products available, the use cases available, and make them easily accessible to banks and their customers. So, my day goes, you can say 50% of my day goes in planning strategies around the product and around features of the product and what the future will bring. So I had to think what are the products typically going to be required and start working backwards. So half of my day goes towards the strategic planning and half of the day goes in what's going on today. So it's a mix of both, but usually I have to do both. I can't ignore either.
So, since you said that you are a creative person and you're a musician as well, do you think that the creativity that you apply in the music space also applies somewhere to enhance your role as the managing director in a tech company? So, how do these two things interrelate for you?
So absolutely. So I remember I started music very late. So when my years of PICT, in the second year of PICT is when I heard the Beatles for the first time. And that's when I picked up the guitar, and there was no social event in PICT. So we started that. So we started that first time when people came together and we had a rock show in college. And that's how the whole vibe started in PICT with a band and this and that. And at that time and even today, most of the good programmers are artists also. So in some form, either they are on stage or they are a musician or they are a painter. And that's why you see PICT winning so many awards in art and culture. And it's really amazing because in our time, such facilities were not available. But the people in PICT are not only the toppers in their own field, but also the toppers in arts and culture. And those who are doing a good balance of both, according to me, become better programmers or better entrepreneurs in software field. So those who are not doing should start doing. And according to me, both are equally important. And the creative part actually helps you think outside the box. So when you're creating a new product for a new market, you have to think outside the box. And same thing you have to do when you have to create a new tune based on only the 7 surs, You have to create a tune completely out of the box or an arrangement out of the box. So that thinking sharpens. And when you're playing an instrument, of course, it helps you calm down after a full day of work. So it works both ways.
So multidimensional personality helps in bringing the best in the tech world as well.
Absolutely.
In the past 2 to 3 years, AI has absolutely revolutionized the entire tech space. What do you think is the impact on the fintech industry particularly, and how has it helped to enhance Sarvatra's products in particular? Do you think it has a huge impact in the payments technology space?
So definitely AI/ML is going to have a huge impact because you are able to understand the customer. Banks can understand the customer, and today the banks can or the customer can get a recommendation whether it's a loan or a payments product or what to do with the AI. But you'll be happy to know that PICT was the first college to offer AI specialization in the final year. And I was the first graduate of PICT in AI in 1991. So AI is that old. So we did a project with TCS, and that was the first project given to any student of PICT by a sponsor. It's a sponsored company. So TCS came, and that was the first project given. And we did a small AI-based product in Lisp is what we coded. And there was a product called an expert object, if I'm correct. So we did something for the Indian Army, some tank testing tables, something like you can't say directly ChatGPT, but very, very early version of AI. And you can imagine how much AI has evolved. So I've been watching the AI space for so many years, thinking, someday it will come into practical use, and I think time has come for that. And the first place where I think AI will get used, beside of course the media industry, will be the banking and finance sector. And any software which gets used in banking and finance, usually that industry grows very fast. So I'm looking at AI in this space very, very deeply.
So, what is your vision for Sarvatra Technologies? What do you think are some new products or new capabilities that the company would like to expand in, or any projects or collaborations that you're particularly excited about and that you can share with us?
So, if you look at the total banks in India who are digitized, there are still only probably 50% banks who are digitized on UPI. Out of those banks who are on UPI, only 50% customers are actually using some digital form. Okay. So if you go to see, that's not even 20% of Indians who are using UPI, though you see UPI everywhere.
That's true.
So the scope for UPI to grow itself, or digital payments to grow, is immense. And very recently, you must have read in the papers or news about digital currency. So India was the first major, country to launch their own sovereign digital currency in a very large scale. And I'm happy to tell you that that CBDC project, digital currency, was developed by Sarvatra, along with the Reserve Bank of India and 4 banks in the first cohort. So I see the digital currency now coming mainstream very soon, as well as UPI growing very, very rapidly. And there are a slew of products which are in the pipeline, which will help a bank and their customer to get better banking services. So today, on one side, better products is important. Other side, security is important. Yes. So if you see today, security is now become a topic for everyone in each house. Everyone is scared, would I get hacked? Or everyone is scared, someone will do something. So today, security is going to play a very important role. And I see Sarvatra launching products which makes digital payments more secure in the times to come.
Those are absolutely remarkable achievements, especially with the products that you have built so far and the technologies that you've built. As an entrepreneur, I think it's very important to have a vision and to understand, what is going to be upcoming in the next few years or so. What do you think an entrepreneurial mindset is, and what would be your advice for tech professionals and entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs who like to, venture in the tech space?
So important is to find a use case, a large enough use case that you can think of, and you can solve it with technology. So if you think you can see, okay, this is a problem and you can solve it technology, it should be large enough space. So that is very important. Otherwise, you will create a product which no one wants, or you might not use the correct technology. Right. So for any entrepreneur, most important is to first read what others are doing. So in the third year, I did a project in which I was supposed to write about all the software CEOs.
Okay.
So that project actually made me understand how entrepreneurs think. So I really thank PICT to giving me that opportunity, where I was, I had to do that project, and I read about biographies of all the guys who created IBM, Microsoft, and in those days whatever the companies were. So we had to read about that and create a project. Because of that, I realized how they think, how they look at product. So if you see, technology today is creating products and creating services. So I think one should do both. One should not say, I'll do only services, which is easy. One should also think of products. And I see many youngsters actually now thinking of their own product. Yeah. And when you create a product, though you might say, I'll do it for a country, you should have an international outlook towards it. So for Sarvatra, all our products can go international. But because the opportunity of India was so big that we kept on growing in India, but our outlook while designing a product is always we have to create a world-class product. Doesn't matter if it's a farmer who is using it or tomorrow somebody in New York is going to use it. The product should stand the world-class level in terms of technology, efficiency, cost, and the look and feel. So always think global, though you might actually start local.
That's a very insightful answer. I think all of this discussion was extremely insightful for students and tech professionals who are interested either in the entrepreneurship space or just building their career in tech. I think this was an extremely insightful discussion, and we'd like to thank you from behalf of PICT for allowing us to spend this half an hour with you in this discussion.
Important part is always your team. So in technology, team is everything. And I would suggest all you guys in PICT to look at your friends. Can they tomorrow be your partners in some business? So look at that and look at where you are, you're able to gel. And so all the key team in Sarvatra, where in my college or where 1 year above or below. So the vibe you can catch in the college, whether you gel with someone or no. So before you can think of a product, it's important to be with people you like. And if you are able to be with people you like, you'll end up creating something amazing. So important is use the college years to really find people you can gel with, and then based on that, see how you want to change the world. Don't think only of money. Money comes automatically.
Yeah.
Think how you can change the world to be a better place. So if you can do that, rest all will follow. So thank you for taking my interview. Anything for PICT is very close to my heart. So I'm very happy to be here.
It's a great honor to be able to speak to you and listen to the advice that you are imparting at such an early stage in our careers while we're still at college, actually. So thank you so much.
Thank you.